Good morning. This is Debbie with Kentucky Life with Debbie, and I feel like a worm in hot ashes. Why, you might ask? Well, I'm going to tell you that. But today is Friday, May the 23rd, 2025, and do you realize that 1 week from today, my girl will be graduating from high school on that night, on the 30th? So it's getting real. But let me tell you, yesterday, my girl said, Mom, I'm having my graduation pictures, like with her cap and gown. I'm having those pictures made tonight at 6:30 in front of the school and at the football field. Don't ask me why the football field. She don't even like football. And I want you to go with me. And I said, you do? And I said, well, I'll go. Because, whatever she wants to include me in, I'm right in there for it. Now, in case you're watching for the first time, I have an adopted daughter who is 17 and will be 18 this summer. So she's a senior in high school. Now, I told my husband yesterday, I said, she's wearing me out. I can't keep up with her. It's going to something all the time. And I told you last Sunday we went to that awards thing. It was 2.5 hours and my sciatic was hurting me so bad I couldn't hardly sit there. And I thought, well, somebody's going to have to drag me to the car and I hope I can drive home. But I survived it. And I was so proud of her. So yesterday morning I got up and I washed my hair and took a shower. I was going to be all poofed up for the photo shoot. Not that I was in it. Well, I'm telling you, it was a beautiful day here yesterday in Kentucky, and it is again today. The sun is shining. The sun was shining yesterday. It's supposed to have been 73 degrees. That wind was blowing, felt like 100 miles an hour. So here we go. I have the pictures made at 6:30 in front of the high school. So we get up there, and I mean, she has, the lady that was taking her pictures had sent her a text and said, be sure and iron your, like a dress that she was wearing under her gown, her graduation gown. So I steamed the dress and I steamed the gown to get it all ready. It wouldn't have mattered if it had been in one big wrinkle. You couldn't have told it from the wind blowing. Well, she's so particular with her hair, and it's like about this long and black, straight. She had on 2 or 3 cords around her neck, 2 or 3 of those sash things, one for FFA and one for National Technical Society, I think is what it is. Her gown was blowing nearly up over her head, and I was freezing to death. But who cares about that? But it took forever to get those pictures. And I'm telling you, my hair, it was like I'd stuck my finger in an electric socket. It looked like it was wild. You can imagine. Look at it. Well, no, I've toned it down a little bit this morning because I didn't want to scare you all. And then we went to the football field after taking all those pictures in front of the high school. And I just thought, after we had to drive over to another area, I thought, I've got a winter coat in the car. And I went and got that and put it on. And I thought, well, I'm going to be sick again from being out in this wind. You know how us old people think. And I should have had cotton in my ears. My mom and my aunt used to wear those little plastic rain caps, tied around here. Do you remember those? And my aunt used to say to me, you need to get you one of those rain caps and wear. It didn't matter if they didn't wear it just in the rain. They wore it every day when they went out to the grocery or whatever. And I used to think, if you ever catch me in one of those, just shoot me now. That was an awful looking thing. But some people wore those. Don't ask me what started that, but anyway, we got the pictures made and we had a successful shooting. So I'm anxious to see those. Now, I even looked this up this morning because, you know, we call it a cap and a gown. Well, I don't know if you know, if you've not been around high school students, or I don't know how long they've been doing this. I never did know them to do it. But kids now are taking their caps and painting them. And now that I've said that, I'm going to go get hers and show it to you. I'm going to pause. Okay, we're talking about the graduation cap. So I was thinking, you know, she came home one day and she said, I have found this picture on Pinterest, I think it was, how I'm going to paint my cap. And I was thinking this morning, what is that really called, a cap? What is that called? Well, actually, some people call it a mortarboard, but who would want to call it a mortarboard? Do you know what that's called, what that's named after? You know, painters, or whenever people are painting, how they have that thing in their hand that's like a flat board, maybe grout or whatever. I can't think of it. When they're putting up drywall, the mud they call it. You know, swapping that on. The mortarboard, or the cap, is named after that. It's that flat thing where they hold it in their hand. Anyway, I bet you didn't know that, and there's your little tip for today. Okay, some people call it a trencher. That's the real name of it, the trencher. But I'm going to call it the graduation cap. So she comes in that day. I mean, this was like a day, 2 days before she needed to wear it, because at our school, they take a day and they'll load the kids, all the seniors, up on the bus, and they go to the different elementary schools and walk down the hallway, and the smaller kids stand out in the hall and they'll cheer. You know, it's just acknowledging the seniors, and they have their cap and gowns on. All right, she picks 2 days before this cap is needed, and she's going to paint it. Well, guess what? She can't paint. So she has to take a trip to Walmart, because you cannot buy anything in this county that we live in. So that's like 30 miles. She goes and gets like 5 or 6 little bottles of paint. 50 cents a piece, she says. What a bargain. So I said, well, you know, I was a little concerned, because this cap, if you mess it up, you can't just go get another cap. I said, why don't you kind of draw it out on like a sheet of paper with a pencil? You know, maybe put the piece of paper over the cap and kind of see what the size is, and kind of sketch it out before you actually draw it on the cap, because once it's on the cap, baby, it's done. She said, okay, she thought she'd do that. So she sat down over here at the counter and she piddled for a little while. And I mean, I knew it was coming, because, you know, I can just sense her mood. She said, I can't draw. Why am I trying to do this? And I didn't want to tell her that I knew she couldn't draw, because for a moment there, she thought she could. She said, I can't do it. What am I going to do? So she had called or texted or somebody, and there was a place in the next town over, this person that did that, but it was getting late in the afternoon. If she wanted it done, like within 2 days, she was going to have to, you know, drive over there and take it. And I said, just hold on a minute. Let's think about this. And I was thinking of a good friend I have that is so artistic, it's just unreal. You know, some people are, some people aren't. I'm not. I said, let's call her and see what she says. So she said she would do it. I mean, thank the Lord, that crooked path made straight. So she showed me a sample of what she was wanting to do, what she wanted her cap to look like. And I was just so touched. I thought, this is so gorgeous. And I'm so glad I'm here to show it to you. Here it is. It says, for I know the plans I have for you. Jeremiah 29:11. Is that not gorgeous? Now, she couldn't have done that she couldn't have probably, I mean, the detail to that. And I love the verse. I think it's gorgeous. She had it for her pictures to be made last night. But I was thinking about, I don't know if I've told you all about my art skills, how artistic I am. A few years ago, I decided that I was going to make like cards, like greeting cards, just for, I mean, you know, I'd like to make them. I'd like to be good enough to sell them, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I started making some, and I thought they were really cute. But nobody ever really complimented. One lady who has passed away, bless her heart, told me how much that card meant to her because it was homemade. So sometime, if I can get it together, I think I've got a few pictures of some I've made in the past. But you know, I've given them all away. But just for my nieces, my 3 nieces' birthdays, just this last month, I made all them a card. I told you about that. And on the inside, you know, I'd put to one of my, happy birthday to one of my favorite nieces. And then they had whited out to one of mine and put my favorite niece and sent it through a text so that the other ones could see that I had said they were my favorite. Well, on one of them, I had drawn some flowers. And then I wanted to draw above the flowers a little bee buzzing around. Well, that was the sickest looking little bee you've ever seen. I mean, it didn't even favor a bee. So just in parentheses, real small, I wrote sick bee, so that my niece would know that I realized it wasn't the best bee possible. But anyway, they loved their cards, but they loved what was in them better. I'm jumping around, but I've got me some things written out here. Hey, you know, we've talked about how obsessed that us, if we call us a creator, whatever we are, we get obsessed with watching to see if our numbers are going up or how many likes we have or if we have any comments. And I love watching for the comments. I love comments. And I will write you back. You know, it might be that night, but I will still write you back. But I just have to tell you this, how exciting this is. And, you know, really doing YouTube is kind of like a game. You're trying to, I mean, I'm not trying to beat anybody else, but you're trying to reach a goal. And then when you get to that goal, you're trying to reach the next goal. But I just want to tell you what has happened just in the last 24 hours. I didn't know, wait, I'm not gone viral. Don't get your hopes up too much. But yesterday morning, when I get up of a morning, after I piddle around just a little bit, I go check my numbers, see if I've got any subscribers during the night. I had 209 subscribers yesterday morning. And I checked just a few minutes ago. Now this morning, it was 228. And then I checked just a few minutes ago right before I started this video, and it was 230. Guys, that's unreal. I had 21 subscribers within about maybe a little bit over 24-hour period, but it's not me. I want to tell you who it is. I have to shout out, and I'm going to write down in the description the names of these sites in case you're not on them. But from about the first video I made, I found Lois Baird-Rice. And she shouts me out about every day. And probably if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even have any subscribers. And still, I watch her videos every day, and we text or we comment back and forth to each other. Because if there's any genuine people on YouTube that you want to watch, I think she is. And I know that I am. Whatever I'm telling you is just as honest as I can be. You know, I'm not trying to sell anything or money or anything like that. I have just a desire to reach out and build a community of, if it's older people, that's wonderful, to encourage each other and to be happy, because, you know, we've got, at this time in our lives, we could be complaining every minute and whining about something. You know, my toe hurts. My toe hurts and I'm going to go to the doctor. But we have to live with that every day. So let's, whenever we are putting out information to other people and trying to reach other people that's in a lot worse shape than we are, or maybe are lonesome, might need some cheering up, some company. That's what Lois wants. That's what I want. Now, there is 3 more people that have just really, I know they have shouted me out on their videos, and I know that it's really boomed me up just with 21 people in the last 24 hours. And that's Tracie from Life in the Wild West. And I'm going to write that in the comments, because she spells her name. I don't know if that's her last name. Wylde is spelled a little bit different. Precious, precious, precious. She's from California, and I think I've mentioned her before. She has shouted me out, and I know that some people have come to watch me because of her. And I know that my channel is not going to be for everybody. It's going to be for more people, you know, my age or older, that just need a little distraction from daily life. I love Tracie. I love to watch her. And she's a lot younger than me. She's probably 29, maybe. All right, another one is Cynthia from Senior Insights, and I've talked about her before, and everybody is loving her. You know, she had that video that went viral, and she just can't believe it, but she's got bukus of subscribers, and I'll write her down there. She called me out the other day in one of hers, and I got some subscribers from it, because some people will say, Cynthia was talking about you, blah, blah, blah. And then one I just found just this week that I'm enjoying, just sweet, down-to-earth Carol from Plain Vanilla Grandma. She shouted me out, and I know that that's helped me get some subscribers. And I really appreciate it, because it's not that I think I'm that great, but I want to make you feel better. I want to make you laugh just for a minute. And most of the stuff I'm talking about, you know, I try to do with a little sense of humor. If you've got the sense of humor like I do, you get it. And it looks like I'm sitting up awful close to this camera. But thank you, thank you, thank you. It's just so much fun to get these comments and people saying, you know, they're enjoying the videos, and that's all I want. I want people to be happy about it. Because if you will look, there are many people that are talking about the sadness in their life. And really, I don't want to hear that. I mean, I'm so sorry for you. And I know I could do that. Believe me, I could do that. But I'm not going to, because I want to make you happy. So, with that said, there is 2 more things I want to tell you. Lord, this video is going to probably be an hour and nobody's going to watch it. Ever since, for years, let's say for years, since I was into technology, into computers and so forth, I've always had a printer at home, because I've always had to print out stuff. And then, like, when I went back to college and took classes, you know, you had to print out stuff, turn in. So whenever I bought a printer, I've always bought the printer, a scanner, and what else? Well, it was like 3 things. You can get one that's a fax, but I had that at one time, but I quit buying them like that, because I don't ever need a fax machine. But I've just always had that. And you would not, if you don't have one in your home, and you need to print out stuff, especially if you've got kids, there's so many things. Or you need to make a copy and take something to the bank or take it to the Social Security office. You know, there's always something you need a copy of. Well, we had this printer. I mean, I loved it. It was a Brother. Got it at Walmart. And it had the little ink cartridge in it. And I mean, they're not cheap. You get a box with the 3 colors, and then you have to buy this black one separate. And every time you turn around, you know, it's beeping that it needs another ink cartridge. But anyway, we used that so much. Well, one day it just died. Well, we had to have it. Here it was my girl's senior year, and you know, you can imagine all the stuff we had to print out. So I sent her to Walmart to get us a new printer. You know, I didn't tell her to get one that was a printer, a scanner, copier. That's a biggie, a copier. So she comes back with just a printer with a black ink, which I don't care if it's color or not, but that's all it would do. Well, I just couldn't get it up on that old printer, and I kept plugging it in and trying to start it up, and it just wouldn't do nothing. So, you know, being one of these that don't want to get rid of stuff, I set it in the shelf in there. Well, the other day, I mean, in the last few months, you would not believe stuff that we have need copied of. So my girl would have to scan it in on her phone or her iPad, her computer, and then send it to the printer, which really, it's a lot different. Like if you're trying to take your driver's license, which is like this big, and you print it out through the computer, it's the whole size of the sheet of paper. So yesterday was garbage day. Set the garbage out, and I thought, I'm gonna put that thing in the garbage, get it out of this house. That's one thing gone. So I got it down. I thought, I'm gonna give you one more try. And I plugged it in, and it came on. And I almost threw it away. So I'm just tickled to death. It has been raised from the dead, brought back to life. And I am just tickled pink that it is workable again, I hope. Anyway, I'm not throwing it away. Okay. I did have another thing or two, but I'm not saying it today because I know you're worn out listening to this. Here is a funny story, so you might want to call your husband and tell him that Debbie has a funny story. And I hope that none of you all can relate to this, but it seems like these stories I've got are relating to older people, but here we go. There were 2 elderly people, George and Sheila, living in a North Carolina mobile home parks in the suburbs of Concord. He was a widower, and she a widow, and they had known one another for a number of years. One evening at supper, a supper was held in the communal refectory, and the 2 found themselves at the same table, seated across from one another. As the meal progressed, George made several admiring glances at Sheila, and he finally gathered his courage to ask her, "Sheila, will you marry me?" After about 5 seconds of careful consideration, Sheila answered, "Yes, I will." The meal ended, and with a few more pleasant exchanges, then they went to their respective caravans. The next morning, George was troubled. Did she say yes or did she say no? He couldn't remember. Try as he would, he just could not recall. Not even a faint memory. So it was with some trepidation that he went to the telephone and called Sheila. Firstly, he explained that he didn't remember as well as he used to. Then he reviewed the lovely evening past. As he gained a little more courage, George inquired gingerly, "Sheila, when I asked if you would marry me, did you say yes or did you say no?" George was delighted to hear Sheila say, "Why, I said yes, I will, and I meant it with all my heart." Then she continued, "I am so glad that you called because I couldn't remember for the life of me who had asked." I hope we don't get in that shape, don't you? Hey, I hope you enjoy my little cooking video, because you know I am Susie Homemaker. You guys have a great day, a great weekend. It's going to be beautiful today here in Kentucky. Get out and enjoy it if you can. And today's Friday, so I'll see you the first of the week, I hope. But Monday is a holiday. I've got 2 beautiful sprays of white flowers to put on my husband and mine, our son. We have a triple tombstone, put on that, and one for my mom and dad. So we'll be doing that this weekend. So you guys have a great day, be happy, and look for the positive things in life, and I'll see you again soon, okay? Bye-bye.